Beyond the Logo with Nancy and Bridgetti helps women entrepreneurs and the men who support them transform their marketing and branding. So the holiday season is upon us, and how do we then leverage, or how can you leverage your organization's promotions during this time of the year? Let us help you unlock the holidays for your business. Don't go away. We will be right back. If you're just joining us, welcome to a brand new show, Beyond the Logo with Nancy and Bridgetti. I'm your host, Bridgetti Banda from Cape Town in South Africa, and our live stream is made possible by StreamYard, Lockhart Marketing, and BeLive Media. A special warm welcome wherever you are watching us. If you're joining us over on Amazon Live, please remember to unmute. If you're watching us on Twitter, on Facebook, on YouTube, on LinkedIn, a warm welcome. It is an audience-centric show, so we are monitoring the comments. I've got my phone right next to me, so I'm watching the comments. So if you do leave us a comment or a question, we will not ignore you. We will acknowledge all comments. In today's show, we're talking about marketing logos and best practice advice for business. And so if this is your first time watching any of our shows, please let us know, and we would love to give you a shout out. My friend and amazing co-host is Nancy Lockhart. She's the founder of Lockhart Marketing and a #1 best-selling author. Nancy has worked with iconic brands such as Target, Kaiser Permanente, and Medtronic, and she's able to leverage her knowledge and expertise to help successful women business owners and men rebrand their businesses and themselves to become more profitable, successful, and purpose-driven. Her book, by the way, we share this book, and that's in the carousel if you are watching us over on Amazon Live, is called Visible No More, Invincible Forevermore. And it's a testament to the resiliency of women and demonstrates the power of redefining who you are. Also, Nancy is the executive advisor for the University of California, Santa Barbara Customer Experience Program. Now, in order to make this show possible, I thought I'd share with you, especially if you are watching us over on Amazon Live, just so that you know, because there's a few things that are in the carousel over on Amazon Live. I use the Logitech Brio camera, and I use the Samsung USB Studio condenser microphone, and both of these are recommendations, along with the book Invisible No More, Invincible Forevermore, and just a couple of the books. I've been doing author shows now for, I hope you can see that. So these are just a couple of the books in the carousel, and so I'm currently recommending these books, so you can find them in the carousel. So if you just joined us again, you're watching Beyond the Logo with Nancy and Bridgetti, brought to you by BeLive Media and Lockhart Marketing. So the holiday season is upon us, and we're talking about how you can leverage your organization's promotions during this time of the year, and we will help you unlock the holidays for your business. So with that, I'm not going to waste any more time and invite my co-host onto the show. Nancy, how are
Hi,
you, my friend?
I'm so good, Bridgetti. Thank you so much. It's just a pleasure to be able to speak with you and to talk about marketing, a topic that's near and dear to my heart, and to offer some advice and some insights for our audience.
Absolutely. And I mean, this is your sort of permanent thing.
Hmm.
And I think a lot of people underestimate how much work has to happen and needs to happen way before the event. I do live video production, and people underestimate the amount of work that it takes, before you get to the point where you are on screen. There's a lot of background work, and in marketing, it's kind of pretty much the same. So I thought, maybe if you can just run through the various points that we're going to be covering. I think there are about 4 or 5 points, right, that we're going to cover
Yes.
today.
Absolutely, absolutely. So what I kind of wanted to do, and I know everyone is very aware that the holiday season is a great time for businesses to maximize their profitability and their revenue stream, but I think it's really important to understand sort of the breadth of the opportunity. And a Deloitte consulting firm does a holiday retail survey to just estimate the marketplace. And right now, what they're estimating is that we will see a 7 to 9% increase in revenue spend from last holiday season. And that equates
Oh,
to about,
wow.
yeah, 1.28 to $1.31 trillion. That's US. So there is market to be gained. And I think it's also really important because a lot of that, given the pandemic, is going to come through e-commerce. So e-commerce is projected to grow between 11 and 15% during the holiday season. So just to kind of give you guys a little bit of an understanding of what you want to go after, and I know everyone's very aware of the holiday season, but I also think one of the things that I want to talk about is how you can leverage your business and think a little bit differently, because with the holidays, we need to think beyond our target market. So some of the things that we're going to be talking about is that thinking beyond the target market, thinking about the people that are going to be buying your products and services for your target market. We're also going to be talking about how can you position yourself a little bit differently for the holiday season and maximize some of that giant piece of the pie that we just talked about. It's so important for us to remember to be inclusive with the marketing. There's so many holidays and so many ways that we can help our clients to celebrate their particular holidays. And then one of the most important things is we're gonna grab a piece of that marketplace, but we want to be able to maintain those clients even after the holidays, so into 22. So thinking about how we can focus on some of that is what some of the topics that we're going to be talking about today.
Wow. There's a lot in there. Every time I think about marketing, I realize how much there is to it, and things we don't consider. So how then do we think beyond our target market, and what does that even mean?
Yeah, great question. I think one of the things is if you're thinking about, let me just back up because there's some key trends for the holiday season that will help us better understand how to think beyond the target. So there was a report done by Trend Centers. It's a research firm that's looking at kind of what is big. And given the pandemic, there's been so much change as to how people are consuming products and services. But there's a shift in kind of the focus of themes. So people are looking for authentic products. They're looking for nostalgic. They're looking for simple ways to get things done. They really want personalization, and also the connection to improving the environment. And a big part of this is co-branding too, working together with other organizations to bring these types of things to these products forward. So I think just keeping some of those key trends in mind, and then thinking about your target market. What did they want? And then put yourselves in the shoes of like, I need to shop for my mom, which would be something different than I would shop for myself. So what are the types of things, thinking about those trends that she might want to have? Now, sometimes that can be having an experience, and that might be doing something with a gift certificate, or seeing how you can provide that to her. So whatever holiday you're celebrating, you can provide the opportunity for that experience. But always be thinking about, it's your clients are going to be, you're going to be speaking to people other than your typical target market. So how can you shift their thinking, get their attention in a non-traditional way? So whether you're, advertising in a different space, or what you're posting on social media, how can you get people to think about your brand and be like, oh my gosh, that would be perfect for mom, or for my husband, or for my kids. And I think when we're thinking about those trends, it's super important, because those are the things that are really lighting people up, that are making them happy, and will make you a superstar if you're buying, and a superstar if you're providing and being able to connect with that additional target audience.
Mm. I think, trying to make your brand memorable is quite a thing. You think of the iconic ones like, Apple and Target. They've got it right on the money. So when you think of a
Hmm.
specific product, you kind of like, I'm going to go get that at Target. I'm going to go get that at
Yes.
Walmart or wherever. They come to mind when you're thinking of a specific product. And so I think for a lot of us smaller entrepreneurs, you're kind of thinking, how do I reach that kind of status? Not you don't have to be a big corporate, but
No.
how do I make people think of me when they're looking for a specific um, item? If you're looking
Right.
for a lipstick, for example,
Uh-huh.
your favorite brand comes to mind, and you don't even have to think about it. You just know that that brand works, and so you
Right.
go for it. So how do you make yourself that go-to brand in the holiday season?
Yeah, well, I think, regardless of holiday season or not, one of the key things, and it's really important and often overlooked, especially with small businesses, is the need to really define your platform and your foundation for your brand. So what do you stand for? What is your mission? Why are you in business? What is your purpose? And having that really defined, and that does take time, and it does take some focus as far as what you stand for. I can guarantee, I've worked with Target. They have a very solid brand strategy. They have a very solid go-to-market strategy. When I worked with Target, it was in conjunction with a healthcare organization, and we were co-branding, and we had very strict guidelines that we had to follow. And we were actually building uh, health hubs within Target. So to be a part and an extension of that, we had to work together with them. But they're very clear on who they are and what they stand for. And it's a real kind of a merge of, this affordable, all in one place, but very fashionable and stylish. So there's that
Mm,
merge for that particular brand. But I think, so bottom line, you have to know who you are. And then the other side of that coin is to understand who is your target. Who is going to be the person that's going to be the most, what problem are you going to solve for this person with your products and services? And it takes research. It takes getting into their minds to understand, what do they consume? What books are they reading? What types of podcasts are they listening to? Where do they live? What's their income? Some of those typical demographics, and then some psychographics. But when you're thinking about the holiday season, the shift kind of is, who is buying for your target audience? So who is
mm,
connected? Who are the people that want to bring joy, want to like light people up? I keep saying lighting them up, but I think, if you can demonstrate that you as a brand can let the new client know that they can provide this really incredible gift for their significant others, man, you've won. You've taken off the stress. They're like, what do I get? I don't know what to do. If you can connect to that, it's a little bit of a different strategy than what you would typically do, but connect outside of your typical target. And that also takes research, and it takes understanding who is connected to your target, who's important to your target.
So I've got an interesting question in that regard. So say, for example, your target market is young people, kids,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yes.
Who want, all these expensive toys, but
Yeah.
they don't have the buying power. It's the parents who's actually got the buying power. So just kind of in terms of a real example here, who do you target, the kids or the parents that's actually got the money?
Well, it depends on where you're communicating your message. So you definitely, because you want to kind of go around both sides. So you want to pique the interest of the kids. You want to demonstrate why it's really cool to have this, and why you want to ask whomever you're asking, whether it be your
Yeah.
parents or Santa Claus or some grandma. So making sure that you're positioning that in a way that really gets to them. So that could be using the social media and TikTok and some of those social media avenues that are truly geared to that. And I'm telling you, TikTok is huge. And also using some of that influencer marketing, which is, for people that may not be aware, people that are highly watched on social media. And once they endorse a product or service, it is really impactful how much it can drive the desire for those products and services, because you've got someone that your audience trusts, and someone that they can see, oh, they're using it. I want to be like them. So that's one part of that, kind of getting to the initial target who wants this product. Now, for the people that are purchasing that, I think what you have to do is demonstrate what's important for them to provide for their children in this particular case. Is this going to be educational? Is this going to expand their horizons? Is this going to give them some kind of experience that they normally wouldn't be able to have? And to demonstrate it in a way that's more of an investment, especially with those high ticket items, because you want to it's not just placate for the time being, but how to demonstrate a longer term effect for those offerings. Also, it's really, this is pretty specific, but the whole idea of socialization is so important in the marketplace right now, because we've been so isolated. So to be able to show, even when it's some kind of a game or something, how that develops some kind of rapport with others is also really key in that particular instance. But understanding both, it's not just I'm going to talk to this person and my sales are going to rise. You really have to be smart and strategic to fully engulf and be authentic with your messages and what you're providing for your client or for your target.
That's an interesting thing. I often see the word authenticity thrown around. And
Mm-hmm.
so a lot of people's like, what does it mean? What does it really mean to be authentic? But I also want to ask you, you did mention TikTok just now, and it is a huge social media platform, a force to be reckoned with. Do you think
Mm-hmm.
people who are ignoring TikTok are making a mistake?
I really do, because I have two teenage daughters. I just a focus group of one. I see the impact, even the vernacular and the cultural impact of that particular medium is really significant. And I think sometimes I've had clients who think, TikTok's just for this audience. I will say, and I will say this with pride, that I was the first one to download TikTok in my household. And
Oh
then
my gosh.
and then my kids were like, they were like, Mom, you're on TikTok, which could have denigrated the cool factor, but but it didn't.
I'm sure you became the cool mom.
well, they were. I think it was more of an oddity and a curiosity, like, why is Mom on there? But in all honesty, it's an excellent way to market research what if your target is teenagers and kids and what's the influences. It's a great way to get on there and to understand. Believe me, some of it blows my mind of you know, what is cool and trending, but it's you start when you talk about that authenticity, you start realizing, okay, to get into that mindset and understand what's going on and how that medium is really influencing the user group is super. It's a resource and it's free. Go be cool. Show it to your kids. You're on TikTok, but it also gives you credibility, I think, in understanding broader trends as well, because our young people are influencing us older people and our clients in how they're positioning and marketing their goods and services. Now, if you're doing some kind of you're a law firm or something like that, I don't know how well TikTok would work, but I think that there in and of itself, it demonstrates you have to understand who you are, what you do, how you help and solve problems for your target market. And then you can take it to the next level of, where do I communicate that message? But if you've done your research and you've worked on understanding your target, then you can start to communicate through those channels.
Amazing. Now, something else you mentioned earlier was the opportunity to partner with other brands.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I imagine it's not quite a straightforward thing. I imagine one has to be very cautiously optimistic about who you brand with and who you align your brand with. Can we talk about
Absolutely.
that for just a second?
Absolutely. I think that's an excellent point. And thank you for bringing that up. One of the things I think in doing that foundational work of knowing why you do what you do and what problem you solve for your target, it's really important to understand what you stand for when you're thinking about doing some kind of a co-branding with someone else or another organization. You want to make sure that you're aligned in what you're thinking and what your goals are. You don't have to offer the same products or services. Obviously, that would kind of negate the reason to partner together. But to have the same type of goal in mind, whether that be you're thinking of green base and how to better the world and save the planet, or that those types of desires and commitments and passion to align. So that's number one, is to really to consider that. But it's also super, super important for you to understand how to communicate that partnership as well. So, when I often say this, and I've shared this with you, Bridgetti, like when you're thinking of a brand and you want to partner with someone, you have to think about where that communication is going. And to be effective, you need to kind of pick which audience goes first. So if I'm working with you, and therefore you're introducing me to your audience, you lead that conversation. And likewise, if we're talking to my audience and my clients, I bring you in and then introduce you. So it's really important. And I think sometimes businesses get confused because it's almost like a jockeying for position, and it breaks the communication down. It tears apart that effectiveness of you coming together and talking about a specific topic or bringing forward this joint product or service. And the thing is you can think about it, you can leverage that extension audience but if you do it and if you communicate it in a way that makes sense and aligns with your values, likewise they can. That's why, businesses can come together. And it also demonstrates, a movement as well, as you're bringing different aspects together, and also, reinforcing and expanding your target market's, opportunity to, to have a new experience, try a new product.
So Nancy, I'm thinking that this could probably just be an entire show on its own, talking about, co-branding.
Yeah.
But just touching on the sort of like surface of it, should you co-brand with somebody without a formal agreement in place?
No, I really advise against that. Oftentimes, if you're not clearly stipulating what is one person, one organization's responsibility, what you're going to receive, and then have that same agreement with another organization, it can become very sticky, messy, and there isn't, you don't know, you haven't outlined the expectations of that other partner brand organization. The expectations could become almost a resentful situation where you're like, I've done more for you than you've done for me. So having that articulated up front, and then, once you kind of launch something together, to understand impact, growth, how to evaluate what that looks like, and then revisit it. And that should also be in that upfront agreement, is to say, how has this performed? How do we make some adjustments, to make sure that it's equitable for both parties, and our expectations are being met for the marketplace. So I think that's a great question, and oftentimes, especially with small businesses, we have hearts of gold, and we want to support one another, and so our intentions are very good. But in order to to be true, authentic, clean about that partnership, it's really important to have those expectations laid out up front.
I really think that's important as well. Well, stay with us. We're switching gears. When we come back, we'll talk a bit about alternative positioning tactics and what that means. Welcome back. You watching Beyond the Logo with Nancy and Bridgetti. So we're switching over to alternative positioning tactics, and what does that mean? In other words, how do you fit in your current products with the holiday season to maximize it? So I've got a product. How can I position that product as an offering in the holiday season differently to what I would do other times of the year?
Yeah, I think sometimes people will say the holidays are a great opportunity for someone who's selling, tangible items, or, my, golden moment might be later in the season. And a great example of that would be, say you're doing a weight loss program or a gym, and you're like, nobody's interested in hearing about my product or service during the holidays. It goes, it's counterintuitive. So I think, when you're thinking about repositioning, again, it's like, how do you get inside the mind of your target market, your clients, to think about what is on their mind. So in the case of like a weight loss program or a gym, you know what? Maybe you can incentivize your client. You can suggest it, why don't you do a maintenance program through the holidays? And then you maintain whatever your goal is, inches, pounds, whatever, stones. You maintain through the holidays we're going to give you a 5 or 10% discount to enroll in a weight loss program to lose weight at the beginning of the year. So it's shifting, like people are going to be like, I don't want to think about trying to lose weight during the holidays, but I don't want to gain, a bunch of weight so that I have to go back and try to start it from, in such a hole.
So you don't want to, you want to be careful about what I'm hearing from you is you want to be careful about your messaging. If you're selling something like an exercise program or weight loss, you don't want to make it sound as if the person enrolls into your program that it's going to be a lot of work for them or take a lot of time or a lot of effort. You want to focus your messaging on the benefits that they will derive. Is that kind of where we...
Absolutely. And especially in those types of situations where it may not be a typical holiday gift. I'm sure you would get into some trouble if you gave someone a gift certificate to a gym during the holidays. You may not get the joy and love that you expect. But I think, if you, as someone who's offering that, to say, what are some of the other, like you said, benefits, holistic, again, you could partner with another organization to say, here's a maintenance program, and we're going to partner with a yoga studio or a crystal shop so that we can provide an offering that brings them peace of mind during the holidays, and not just about how hard do I have to work or pay attention to this. So there is benefit, like you said, to bringing forward some of those offerings that you have. Even thinking about, say, your financial services offering, people, the numbers I quoted at the beginning, that's big money, and people are spending. And sometimes, it's something where it's like, oh my God, how am I going to now look at, on the other side of the holidays, look at the credit card bills, and how do I handle that? And to think about, that's something that's upcoming. So to position it in a way that's like, hey, let us help you get through the holidays, and to demonstrate, how to manage your funds as you're approaching the holidays. Make it easy for folks. Think about their pain points and put yourself in their shoes, and then go, how do we provide the best services, provide the type of connection that you want to have as you bring clients forward even after the holidays, which I know we'll talk about more later.
Absolutely. There's just so, so much that one can think of to do. And I was also thinking of how one, the co-branding thing, you have to be very strategic about, as you said, about the partner that you choose, not only for the sake of your brand, but you want to make sure it's complementary. I'm just trying to summarize. You want to make sure it's complementary to the people that you're offering, that you're making that offering to. And so the other point that I'd like to shift to is how we can be inclusive in our holiday offerings. Can you give us some examples or ways that one can do that?
Well, I think, we're in a time right now where we want to be very aware of other people's, how they celebrate, how again, it goes back to understanding your target, like what's important to them, where are they, what holiday are they shopping for, and to understand a little bit more about, your target and the diversity that you might have within your target audience, and how can you shift offerings that make sense. So if you're celebrating Hanukkah versus celebrating Christmas, you have, 7 nights of opportunity to provide gifts and services to your clients. Christmas is maybe one big gift. So how can you break that up? And also understanding the meaning behind the different celebrations that are occurring throughout the holidays is really important, because then you can make those connections, whether it's something that's a religious, perspective that people are looking at, how to be mindful and to be respectful of your clients. And
That's
also,
an interesting point. I don't think
yeah.
I've heard anyone mention that before, being mindful and respectful of, how people may perceive a particular holiday and tie that into how you present an offer to people so that they're not offended by your packaging, your overall packaging.
Right. Well, and I think, we live in a time where it's very important for us to be aware of who we're talking to. And we also have the opportunity to create much more specialized communications because of all of the technology that we have access to. So it almost becomes our responsibility to be able to do that for the people. We care about our clients. We want to provide them, again, a what is the solution that we can provide for our clients.
I want to just give a real world example here of something that happened in South Africa a couple of months ago. And to me, that was a great example of how you need to be mindful in your marketing.
Hmm.
So we had, I think it was a shampoo, if I can remember correctly. So this company, a well-known brand here, was selling a shampoo, and they had two images on the packaging, right?
Hmm.
And the one image was of a white woman with sleek hair,
Hmm.
and the other one I think was a black woman with ethnic hair, and they kind of like were comparing the two and saying, well, the sleek hair is what you can have if you're using our shampoo.
Oh.
Huge,
I
huge, huge marketing mistake, like in
Absolutely, it makes
massive
my
marketing mistake.
stomach turn. Yeah, you've just alienated, a
An
large part.
entire, yeah,
Hmm. Yeah, and you've alienated and you've insulted. Like, people are, it has such a ripple effect of, you don't understand me, you insulted me, you're not celebrating who I am and the beauty that comes from my type of hair versus, slick hair, or whatever the other was. That type of thing, it isn't, it just is not being thoughtful about who your target audience is and how you communicate with them. Your claim to fame, that shampoo may be formulated for, having uh, straight hair, or that type of thing, but you don't do that at the expense of half of your marketplace. And that's where you have to be really mindful and respectful, and understand there may be part of that, that particular target that was offended, and might have been interested in, what, sometimes I want to wear my hair, slick and straight versus curly, but they won't ever hear or try that, because that particular shampoo has alienated them from ever considering that particular offering, that particular shampoo. And it's really, it's offensive. It just is offensive. So, um, being thoughtful and strategic and leveraging the channels that are available is really a way to demonstrate your commitment to diversity and celebration of your diversity. If you can demonstrate how your product and service is beneficial in many different ways to address many different people's beliefs, celebrations, customs, you've just you it's not that hard to be able to do that in a way, and you've just broadened your market, and you've just got more of that revenue pie that I talked about earlier.
absolutely.
Mhm.
I was just thinking about this very topic is perhaps sometime in the future we should also cover how do you come back from a marketing mistake? Because
Absolutely.
I
Yeah.
think at some point, almost everyone makes a marketing mistake or a choice that is not so smart. And how do you turn around a bad situation? Does it mean that if you made a poor choice, it's the end of your business? Or, can you survive
It
a bad marketing mistake? Like that one, for example, it was really really, really, really hard for that company to turn that around. It was not easy.
Right. And it's not easy, but honestly, it can be a huge opportunity for you to show humility and become, when you're thinking of your brand should have um, should come forward to your target as a person with dimensions and makes mistakes and can grow and learn. And if you can demonstrate that, you make a mistake and you can demonstrate that, you have a tremendous opportunity for people to say, people are forgiving and they want to know, like, oh, you do see how you might have offended me or, cut me out or made a mistake. And now you're taking responsibility for that. You're owning the mistake and you're moving forward to try to be like, we're going to be smarter. It's very much a PR play, but it is in how you can, and I shouldn't say play. It's really a PR duty, but that's how you can market to, and it ties right back into being authentic. We made a
I
mistake.
think
Go ahead.
absolutely, and I think that's one area where, oftentimes people come undone, especially top management who's far removed from the stuff on the ground, and that's the topic. Being in touch with your brand and your customers and the people who
Yeah.
are physically on the ground, and not to misread the market. Because the other thing that I also know, coming from that experience, is that people will not forgive you if they sense um, you coerced into or forced into making an
Yes.
apology that you don't really want to make. People can
Yes.
see right through that kind of thing,
Yeah.
it,
Yeah,
when
absolutely.
it's not genuine.
Well, and it is an art to do that because we're in such uh, a time where people they're making mistakes, and because there's so much access to everything, people are more aware of what's going on, and people misspeak or say, or misprint or make a bad offering, that genuineness of that apology is so important because we see it time and time and time again where people will get on, check the box of, I said I'm sorry, and so therefore I should be forgiven. But
So it
you,
shouldn't just be a
again,
matter of ticking the box. Your
right.
forgiveness, your apology must not be a ticking of the box.
Absolutely. And if it is, then you'll just you'll continue to alienate people. And I think, it does take, and it takes practice, and it takes, to really outline, how did I make this mistake, and how can what are the ways that I can think of that I can truly demonstrate my commitment to doing the right thing from now on. And
Mm.
you can't just get on, put an ad in the newspaper or get on social media or on a TV ad and say, I shouldn't have done that. That wasn't cool. I apologize. It won't happen again. People will see right through that and they won't trust you. And one of the things,
Mm.
people are way too exposed to, finding, they want to trust, but they're suspicious because there's been a lot of things that have, in this world that we're living in, there's a lot of, distrust and concern. So if you can truly demonstrate that authenticity and that commitment to doing the right thing, boy, you're really going to go far with your target audience.
That is amazing. That is absolutely amazing. So one thing that I often find is that people may do a huge marketing push prior to the holidays and during the holidays, but what exactly happens after the holidays? When we come
Hmm.
back, we'll talk about that. Nancy, so I've done all this work. I have now I've got this huge client base because I've had all these special deals and things. and vouchers or whatever, 2-for-1 deals or whatever it is that I've done over the holidays. But how do I then maintain that client base after the holidays?
Well, it's again another opportunity for you to expand your target market. And if you've delighted, say you've communicated outside of your target, you've given them the opportunity to delight the people that they care about, and you start to establish that trust, regardless of whether they're using your product or not, there's going to be other holidays that they want to purchase for their target. So if they know you can deliver, then you want to continue to nurture that, reassure them. So it is about communication, again, about knowing who is around your target and how you can appeal to them. But you're also, when you're thinking about it, you might have people who are like, wow, I think this is something that would be really special for my significant other. Something maybe they haven't tried before. Maybe it's some type of candle, or maybe it's some type of an item of clothing, and they love it. How can you reinforce the repeat purchase and the continuation of that person who has now become aware of your products or services? And that is really being able to make sure you're capturing as much feedback as you can. So that is, it is really about reaching out and saying, how did you like this product or service? How did you, what was some, room for improvement? And that whole idea of being transparent and working in conjunction with your target audience to maintain their level of interest, and to maintain their buy-in to what you're offering, and continue to respond to that. But I think, we often think, okay, there's that big number that I talked about, but you can retain between 10 and 20% of those additional dollars throughout 22 as you're thinking beyond, and then leveraging the learnings from a holiday season into another season, as you think forward for what are the other opportunities to promote. And once you establish that trust, like all of the points that we talked about, demonstrate you understand your target audience, demonstrate that you understand what their needs are, that you were respectful and genuine about it, they're going to line up, excuse me, to have more of what you're offering, and they'll trust you. So I think you want to continue to nurture those, maybe you have your center target audience, and then nurture what's around and beyond the target audience and the people that you interacted during the holiday season. Don't forget them, because they do have other opportunities to vote with their dollars and buy your products and services. So I think it's just it's something that we have to be mindful of. It's not just a one and done.
Nothing ever is, right?
No, it's not.
You don't want, and it's not by accident, it's by design. That continuity plan isn't just going to happen. You have to work towards it, build towards it, maintain it. Clients need constant nurturing. And so a question I want to ask is, for all these different seasons that we have, and yes, we are now planning for the holiday season. For all these different seasons, how much time should a typical entrepreneur allow for planning between seasons?
Well, great question, because I'm sure that everybody has seen, we haven't even come to Halloween and there's all kinds of, holiday marketing. But I do think it's important for us to go back between 60 and 90 days, and ultimately to think ahead. So when you're starting your year, to think ahead of all of the opportunities that you have. So you can start planning, where are there events that you can partner with? Where are there other co-branding opportunities that you can leverage throughout the year. So having a solid plan at the beginning of the year is really good. But if you're thinking, okay, now it's the holidays, now is the time to plan for the holidays. People are buying in November and December. It's not just, like Black Friday or Cyber Monday. You need to think about, people react and respond. I mean, we're talking globally. So how can we leverage this, across whenever someone's ready to buy? When they're ready to buy, be ready and prepared. But if you're thinking specific holiday promotions, now's the time to do it. And maybe even last week was the time to do it. So yeah, it's really truly never too soon. And it's never too soon to really lay out your marketing and promotional plan for
Yeah.
the year.
Sooner than later. Nancy, I
Absolutely.
cannot believe that we've almost at the top of the hour. It has been so amazing. But I did want to leave some time to talk about what our plan is for our second show, our next show.
Yes.
I'm very excited about it. The show is called Beyond the Logo. And so tell us a bit about what our plan is for our next show.
Absolutely. This is so exciting. So it is beyond the logo. So what we want to do, and part of the things that I do with Lockhart Marketing is I help people to develop their logos and their icons and, how they represent themselves through their brands. And what we wanted to do is to offer our audience, if they would like us to, they'd like to submit their logos, that we would take the opportunity to say what we perceive from their logos and see how it aligns with what their business objectives are. And also to kind of kick off the show and get people, in the mood, take an iconic brand and say how it's evolved and changed. Now we think of logos as, pretty pictures and colors and fonts and imagery. And that's all true. But to be really smart and leverage all that foundational stuff that I talked about and knowing how to, how to really attract your customers is knowing who you are, reflect that in your branding and marketing, and particularly in that logo. I mean, it truly is for small business, it's a representation of who we are and how we go to market and what we're offering. So those tiny little details are very impactful and help people, to remember who you are. So we wanted to offer that to folks if they're interested in sending in samples of their logo. We'll be happy to take a look at it, give you our feedback and our thoughts on it, and perhaps some ideas on what you might want to think about as far as, evolving your logo for your particular audience. So I'm so excited about doing that. I think it's going to be so much fun and hopefully super informative for our audience.
I'm very excited about that. If you're watching the show live now or you're watching the show on the replay, this is an amazing opportunity to have your logo looked at, because it was mind-opening for me when we went through this process with my logo. So many things that I didn't think about and consider with my logo. I opened my mind to that. So anyone, if you're watching the show live or on the replay, if you want to submit your logo to us, you will be amazed at what you learn, and perhaps we'll look at some of the more famous brands as well, and that people will recognize, and just see what people can learn. What is it about that logo that made that brand so memorable? I think, for example, something I often talk about and people use, very flippantly is the Nike brand. Just do it.
Yes.
It has worked for eons. That phrase, that logo is so
Yep.
recognizable.
Yes.
In fact, I started a play on that. And I often sort of say, be like Nike and just do it.
That's awesome. So I actually had the opportunity to work with Scott Bedbury, who was in charge of marketing at Nike when that campaign came out. So it's fascinating to know, like you said, all of the behind the scenes to I mean, there's a great story that Scott wrote called A New Brand World. And it's fascinating. And he also did work with Starbucks as well. And I worked with him at Kaiser Permanente, which is a large healthcare system in the United States. And it's a great read, but it demonstrates the dance you have to do when you're thinking about, your marks. They spend a ton of money with an advertising agency, and it just wasn't the just do it, as simple as it is. The simplicity is so elegant. The swoosh, obviously it's been so powerful, but yeah, it's a ton of fun to do. It's eye-opening. And hopefully you guys, you find it really super helpful because, yeah, because it's something often overlooked.
And that is what I learned from you, and also from these well-known brands, is that less is more. The
Yes.
simplicity of it is what makes it memorable.
Hmm.
Like, there's nothing in the words, just do it. There's nothing fancy about those words. They're very simple words, but used together, packaged together,
Hmm.
it's absolutely powerful. So I'm really, really, really looking forward to our show next week. So for anyone who's watched us today was our very, very first episode of Beyond the Logo. So do join us. And I think we didn't tell people is that this is a fortnightly show. So not
Yes.
next Monday, but the Monday following we'll be back. So we air every second Monday at the same
Absolutely.
time. So you've got a period of almost 2 weeks in which you can submit your logo to us, if you'd like feedback on your logo. This is an amazing opportunity to help you rebrand, or if you're a brand new entrepreneur and you're looking for a logo and you don't know how to put it together, this
Yeah.
is your opportunity. You've got just under 2 weeks to let us know how we can help you with your logo.
Yeah, and if you're just thinking of starting to go into business and are like, I'm not sure how to put together a logo or how to do it thoughtfully and strategically, I so encourage you to take advantage of this opportunity. You'll have fun. You'll learn a lot.
Absolutely, you definitely will. So thanks very much, everyone. I want to give a huge big shout out to our amazing audience over on Amazon Live that have joined us. So appreciate you. Also to our audience over on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on Twitter, and also on YouTube. It was amazing to have you join us today. So thank you very much. We'll see you back in 2 weeks with another episode of Beyond the Logo. Take care, everyone, and stay safe.
Bye bye.